Hello, everyone. Substack is on too. Thank you so much. I think that we probably have to change live recording from Tuesday to Wednesday because apparently today is the day. Um, hi everyone. Okay, let's get serious. Are you guys ready?
I'm ready.
Good.
Hey, Substack people, it's Stephen here as well. Now I've said hello to everybody.
Yes. So let's open the podcast for today. Hey everyone, welcome back to the After Hours part of the series on Ask Dr. Vincent that is produced and co-hosted by Stephen and also yours truly, Dr. Vincent. And the purpose of this podcast series is to make science more personal, where science get personal, things that sometimes can be so complicated. We boil it down into things that are practical that you can apply every day. And I would be a listener if I wasn't doing this because over the weekend, I actually sent you a picture, Stephen,
Yep.
of a label of breakfast cereal when I went to an stay at a hotel to visit my grandma, and instead of it saying Fruit Loop, FROOT Loop, it's actually Fruit Loop, which is a wrong spelling because I didn't know before Stephen mentioned this that the word Fruit Loop was actually has nothing to do with fruit, as in like fresh fruit and vegetables, but they want you to think that this colorful breakfast cereal with lots of sugar is actually healthy for you the way that fruit would be.
And different colors and all of those kinds of things. Even the shape, I think.
Yes.
The round shape. It seems like it's probably feels healthy. Or
And
something.
it's fun. It is marketed toward kids. But that is a good segue for me to introduce today's topic because it's not only kids, parents, and toddler, or people who are probably that you would think would be prone towards falling into marketing scheme because adults, even men, would be a prime target as well. Probably you have guessed it. Today, our topic is protein. Apparently, everything needs to have protein, even candies, even chocolate bar, because protein means healthy. And I love healthy food, but sometimes you just need to let candies be candies. But what do you think, Stephen?
I was fascinated when you reached out and said, let's talk about protein, because immediately my mind went to, oh, we're going to have a whole episode on meat or a whole episode on these amazing acids and amino acids that I don't really know a whole lot about. That I have a list of questions for you. We might get to those later. But tell me what is protein? When I think of protein, am I right? Am I thinking it's red meat, it's things that come from animals?
That is correct. Not all protein types come from animals.
Okay.
They can also be plant-based. However, there are only two proteins that naturally are what we call the complete proteins. Complete protein means that it has all of the essential amino acids, which are the molecules and substances that make up protein. But before we go into that,
Yeah.
why protein is so essential, why protein is so important in terms of our macronutrients. So you have fat, you have carbohydrate, and you have protein. The reason why there's a lot of research being put into protein and somehow being extrapolated by food manufacturers to signal that certain foods are healthy because they are higher in protein than others is because proteins are literally the building blocks of life. When you go out and
Okay.
exercise, for example, you tear your muscle, which is basically what bodybuilding is. You're tearing the muscle fiber and your body has to repair it. Those require protein. Protein is literally the building blocks of life. And that's the reason why, for example, if you are a fan of Jurassic Park, back in the day, the way that it was being explained to us is the DNA and the amino acid that is being put together to resemble what the DNA or the genetic makeup of dinosaur, for example.
Hmm.
Those are all protein blocks. And to take this factual, scientifically correct definition, function, and structure of protein to then extrapolate to say that everything that are rich in protein are definitely healthier, that is my issue.
Ah.
But to answer your question, whether or not proteins are mainly from animal or plants. The reason why you have that conception is because for so long, people think or people equate scientifically complete protein being the most perfect or the preferred protein. I mentioned earlier that there are only two proteins that are considered complete proteins. The first one is egg. The
Okay.
second one is milk.
Right.
So
Neither of those are meat.
neither of those are meat
Yep.
and neither of those are plant-based.
Mm.
This is the reason why when back in the day, when I say back in the day, when I studied nutrition and dietetics, when people come to me and say that I am vegetarian or I am a vegan or I'm thinking of pursuing a vegetarian lifestyle, the first advice is to make sure that they know that there is no single protein from plants that can provide you with all of the amino acids. But that's not an issue because then you can eat different types of
Okay.
proteins to make up for sort of kind of the loss or the gap in the
Yeah.
essential amino
Yeah.
acids.
So we're clear on what is needed. It
Yes.
really is just making sure that your diet then includes
Yes.
those particular things. So if you're vegetarian or vegan, you've got to make sure that that you include foods that have those amino acids. Is that right?
That is correct. So there's an argument by people in the way that if you want to be healthier by pursuing the plant-based diet, then why do you take supplement? Because again, similarly with protein that people consider as healthy, a lot of people also consider taking multivitamins or minerals or supplements are inherently bad for your diet. And I'm not blaming them because for so long
Mm.
there are many types of supplements that we don't need,
Yeah.
that we are not supposed to take on a daily basis. Multivitamins, for example. I mean, if
Yeah.
you take multivitamins, uh, please consider consulting your doctor to actually find out whether you need it or not. One of a general rule of thumb to very quickly tell whether your body is absorbing these vitamins or not is that when you take it, after you take it, you go to the next time you go to the bathroom, if it changes the color of your urine, then that is signaling that your body is not actually absorbing it. As a matter of fact, you're overworking
Gotcha.
your livers and kidneys. So that is one of the argument. But from my perspective, when a vegetarian or a vegan take supplements, especially the amino acid complex, it is not actually unhealthy. It is confers in instead of labeling it as unhealthy, they're actually looking after their health because they know that there is a gap in the amino acid profile
Mm.
from their lifestyle choice, and therefore they are making sure they're not lacking in these vitamins
Yeah.
or amino acids.
Does sound a little bit complicated though for our listeners to know what they're taking and whether those things that they're taking are adding or subtracting. Uh, I guess there are a whole lot of tools that you can use
Yes,
to
and
work out that out.
yeah, AI is a great tool for that because I know that people will come at me by saying this because I'm literally saying that you don't need to go to see someone who is qualified. No, I'm not saying that. I always think that those who can have access to that, who can afford the service of dietitian or
Mhm.
nutritionist, or naturopath, please do go and do that. However, um, artificial intelligence is not AI in the sense that it can think for you, but it has access to all of its database in the way that, say, for example, it can calculate very quickly if you punch in your diet whether or not you get the adequate amount of certain nutrients. And I think it's almost like Excel computing system on steroid.
Hmm.
So instead of having to go to Google and uh, making a list of what you eat and then making sure that you calculate all the amino acid, the single amino acid that you are taking from your tofu, your
That
lentils,
sounds really complicated.
that sounds really complicated. So AI is a really great tool. But at the same time, I also would like to say that um, this is the reason why, as a scientist, I inherently believe that humans biologically, we are not meant to rely on just plant-based diet.
Hmm.
I do agree with the research and studies that show that people who majority of their diet are made up of plant-based food, tend to be healthier. I agree with that.
Yeah.
So with that mindset, I probably would suggest, unless it's for your, moral compass reason or your religious reason, if you just want to be healthy, perhaps instead of eliminating animal based food entirely,
Yep.
perhaps change your mindset in terms of when you imagine this is our dinner plate, meat on the side rather than meat being the hero of the dish.
Yeah, definitely. And we've spoken about it so many times, Vincent, over the last few months.
If you say breakfast, Stephen.
No, I'm not going anywhere near breakfast.
Thank you.
For lunch and dinner. No. So any meal that you have, obviously, we need to think about the proportions, the size of the meal, and what's in the meal, and how you proportion the different components. So, if I'm looking at protein for my dinner plate, what sort of percentage do you think is a healthy range for
It
for a
really
normal person?
it really depends on your body size and your the level of your activity. Because,
Okay.
for example, I need between 130 to 150 gram of protein, which sounds not a lot, but it's actually really hard to eat that much protein.
Mm,
And people who are smaller size, or perhaps do not do a lot of physical activities as much as I do, because I go to the gym, but at the same time, people think that I'm the CEO and founder of Renovatio, which is true, and also Vincent Holdings. But I'm also the janitor. I'm also the courier. So I carry a lot of boxes. So if you remember a few months ago, I did Hyrox. On the day that I arrived back from a long haul flight
mm,
from Dallas, Texas in the US, I actually didn't find it very hard because it is my normal day. But I was just swapping the sandbag uh, or boxes of products with sandbags. So that is just a normal day for me. What I'm trying to say is that just go back to the nutritional science and the biology of protein. So as I said before, protein is a building block.
yeah.
So if you if you work your body hard, be it exercise, or say, for example, if your work is very physically demanding, or that if
Mm,
you do a shift worker, if you're a shift worker, if you do a shift job,
yeah.
which means that your body needs to bounce back really, really quickly, you need to make sure that you are providing your body with enough protein, because
Okay.
you need to rebuild what you are destroying and
Yeah.
damaging.
And that's the real focus, isn't it, of protein? It's
Yes,
about the rebuild.
that is
So
correct.
your body doesn't store protein?
Our body does store protein in the way of, so say for example, our body doesn't store glucose, doesn't store sugar.
Mhm.
It stores in the way in the form of body fat.
Yeah.
And proteins, some people can argue that one of the way that it's being stored, or one of the result of the storage of protein, would be the lean body mass. People see it as
Okay.
muscles. But I want to be very, very clear, because I don't want people to have a misconception. Because when I used to work with clients as a nutritionist, whenever I recommend them to take some protein supplements, they if they're female clients, they would just say that no, 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 I don't want to be a bodybuilder.
Mm.
People associate with a protein intake with big muscles, bodybuilding sort of kind of type muscle, but that's not really the
Yeah.
case. The only reason why people make the association, or used to make the association, is because, as I said before just now, for people with high intensity in terms of their physical activity or exercise, they need a higher amount of protein. And I mentioned that I calculated my requirement for protein is 150 gram, and it's actually really hard to eat 150 gram protein.
Yeah.
So imagine if someone is a bodybuilding athlete, for example, they require a higher amount of protein, and because it's quite hard and almost impossible in some cases to eat it from food, they take it in the form of
It's
protein
supplements.
shakes
Ah.
or protein bar or things like that.
Yep.
This is the
Powders.
reason why people used to associate protein supplements with bodybuilding goals,
Mm.
building muscle, getting bigger. And this is also the reason why, out of a sudden, you see cereal with added protein, or
Okay.
high protein cheese, for example, everything with high protein, that seems to be the one that sort of kind of sell the product because now I when I say now, I mean in the past 5 years, people equate being lean, being ripped as being healthy, especially for
Yeah.
men in the manosphere. So that's that's
Wow.
that's the direction that it tends to go. Obviously, now with the rise of peptide, which we should have another episode on that, people now are moving away from that. But I'm 50-50 because for the last 2 years at the Natural Product Expo West, which is I would say like the Super Bowl of natural product, healthier for you, better for you products conference, they have been saying that people are moving away from protein, and the next thing is fiber. But
Interesting.
the fact in the market, people are still very much into protein, especially in Australia. We're around about probably 6 to 8 months late compared to
Okay.
our US friends when it comes to the protein trend. I mean, it was only recently that I saw I think it's high protein peanut butter, whereas in
Mm.
the in the US it has been a thing since like 2 years
It's
ago.
been around for ages. Yeah. I also really like the idea that I could eat high protein cheese to put on muscle. Is that how it works? Is it a
Well,
direct?
this is the craziest thing, right? Because if you, which I know you do know how cheese are made, so if you are familiar with cheese making process, is actually really, really unique in the way that how it fits into the whole protein craze, especially at the beginning.
Okay.
Because when you make cheese, which is from milk,
Hmm.
you use either enzyme, heat, or acid to denature the protein and make a separation between the solid part
Hmm. Yeah.
and the liquid part. Usually, the solid part is casein that gets solidified, and then all of the watery part that contains whey.
Yep.
It used to be that whey is the byproduct of cheese. So first of all,
Mm.
cheese is inherently high in protein. It's also high in fat, but it's high in protein because you are curdling the protein, you're denaturing the protein, and you take away the solid part of this protein compound. The watery part is also high in protein. It's called whey protein. And that's
Yeah.
the reason why when you go and buy protein powder, it very clearly states there that it's whey
That it's
protein
whey. Yeah.
concentrate or whey
Yeah.
protein isolate. And they tell you because this is the best type of protein. Perhaps yes. But the main reason why it became majority whey is because cheese farmers didn't have any use for this
There was nothing.
whey
It's
as
a
a
byproduct.
byproduct.
Ah.
So they found out that it's high in protein. They sold it to companies that then dry it out and make whey powder. Because whey powder, protein
Mm.
powder, used to taste so bad before they put all of these additives. That's the reason how protein supplements got its head start when it comes to whey protein concentrate or
Wow.
protein isolate. And this probably has a lot of commercial motivation because they literally started from something that was really, really cheap.
Mm.
Back in the day, whey protein, they probably pay this company just to take this away because
Yeah.
as you know that their main business is cheese and the bulk majority of this waste is just water. So they need someone to take it away and do something with it.
Yeah. Yeah. So it not only is it difficult to manage because it's watery liquid,
That's correct.
it needs to be transported correctly as well, I guess.
Yes, at the right temperature. So, because
Mm.
obviously they wouldn't care if they're just wasting it or
Yeah.
dispose of it. But when you want to get it like safe, obviously you need to make sure that the
Mm.
transport and handling are done properly. But another thing to mention is that if you look at the origin of protein, the country of origin of protein supplements, usually is either the
Okay.
US. Wisconsin is a capital of cheese.
Hmm.
Europe, where they have a lot of dairy cows and dairy factories, and obviously China, because China is
Hmm.
so big. Can you believe that China only has one time zone,
And
even though it
it is.
expands from north to south and also horizontally across the globe, which means that um, it has it's almost like a jack of all trades. when it comes to agriculture, when it comes to farming, and dairy is one of their the industry as well.
Yeah. So back to building muscle, and my question about eating lots of cheese that's protein enriched. Is that all I need to do, or I feel like that there is a trick in there somewhere where you have to do the effort
Of
to be
course,
able to build the muscle.
of course. Like I mentioned earlier, this is the reason why it's very, very important to understand how muscle building or lean body mass formation happens. Because when you just eat protein, yes, your body burns more calories to extract calorie from protein.
Yeah.
Around about maybe 5% extra. So there's an argument that your body will burn more calorie when you're eating cheese rather than when you're eating butter, for example, or bread. But obviously, you probably put bread and cheese and butter together.
Exactly.
But what I'm trying to say is that when you just focusing on what you eat, protein is just calorie. It doesn't get used and activated until your body needs to repair itself.
Okay.
By going to the gym, by exercising, by walking, by having this aerobic movement in your body, your body is exercising and utilizing and moving these muscle fibers. The muscle contract, relax, contract, and relax. There will be micro tears in these muscles that needs to be repaired.
Gotcha.
So together with the vascularity of your circulation, when your body needs to repair it, it then deploys everything, including the amino acids from protein, into rebuilding its muscle.
Okay.
Over time, the muscle gets bigger, the muscle gets more defined because it needs to sustain the activities that your body is doing.
And that also increases your protein intake to be able to cater for those.
That is correct. That is correct. Because I always say that when it comes to the aesthetic and physicality, I would say it's probably 70% nutrients, so 70% what you eat and 30% what you do.
What you do, yeah.
Yeah. But at the end of the day, body weight is a mathematical issue. Calorie in and calorie out.
Yeah.
So it doesn't matter whether it's protein, whether it's fat, whether it's carbs. At the end of the day, when it comes to your body weight, what counts is the calorie. So I don't want people to think that bread is inherently bad, rice is inherently bad, and mince, chicken mince, or cheese, or things that are high in protein are inherently good. And this is a problem that a lot of consumers are facing, and food brands and manufacturers are taking advantage of this ignorance, some people can say, of consumers when it comes to protein. People just think that protein is good. So when they see a chocolate bar with a label or claim that rich in protein or high in protein, or the worst is higher in protein.
Yes, then something else.
That is something else.
Like
that I really think that is borderline not so good. Apparently, I was going to say malicious, but apparently malicious is a legal term that we cannot use.
We can't use deceptive.
We can't. Yeah. So I do think that is just outright misleading. So I really want people to know about this. This is the reason why I want to talk about it, because protein is good. There is nothing wrong with protein. The same way that there is nothing wrong with fat, there's nothing wrong with sugar. It's how it's being packaged and how it's being sold to us that give a filter or sort of kind of a lipstick on these probably ugly products to entice us, to make us think that it is better than what it actually is.
Yeah. Vincent, I know that there are certain parts of the body that convert protein and break up the amino acids. And one of those parts of the body is the liver.
Yes.
My notes here, I've called it the sorting depot. Is that accurate?
It is very accurate, because the liver is so the sorting depot is a really accurate way of describing what our liver does, because whilst it is sorting out all of the nutrients and all of the good stuff, it also produces, say, for example, bilirubin and stuff and other substances to help digestion on different part of the body, but at the same time, it also sorts out toxin, for example.
Mm.
And that's the reason why whenever people say that, oh, take this detoxing supplement, oh, I'm doing a detox, there is nothing that you can do that your liver is not already
Already
doing
doing.
in a better, proper way. It's a matter of fact, if you manage to flush your toxin out of your body, it's not a good thing, because you're either having a diarrhea, for example. People associate
Okay.
going to the toilet or having an active bowel movement more than usual, or watery stool, is a good sign that their body is flushing toxins or toxic compounds out of their body. No, it's
Mm.
not. And this is the reason why a lot of detox supplement, and if you don't believe me, go to supermarket or to a chemist, to health food source, and read the ingredients yourself, the active ingredients, or if it comes in form of tea, read the herbal component. Usually it will contain something that um, has a laxative effect or diuretic effect. So senna is one of the leading active ingredients in detoxification products, because it gives you that very visceral, visible, and palpable sometimes reaction in terms of, I need to go to the toilet. That is not good, because
Mm.
your body is already doing that. You are interfering with the normal activities of your
Mm.
liver.
And I guess some of those products would cause you to be more dehydrated. Like there are worse things
That
that
th-
can happen.
that is correct. So when people are taking diuretic, for example, just to appear less puffy,
Mm.
or to think that they will appear less puffy, a lot of the times when they overdo it, they actually become a lot more water retaining, because your body your body's number one priority is to keep it alive, to keep it well and
Yeah.
functioning as close as possible to the normal
Mm.
baseline.
Yeah. And water's pretty important for that.
Water is very important. And this is the reason why when you take diuretic or supplement that makes you go to the toilet a lot, your body will retaliate and actually shut down that system and conserves every drop of water in your body.
Yeah.
So this is the reason why sometimes when people take one, and I've seen this. I as a practicing nutritionist, used to be, I have seen a lot of people with this issue, and they would come to me and say that, yes, but Dr. Vincent, I take another dose, and I was like, well, that's the problem, because the more, our body is a living being, and it's pretty damn smart. If you don't treat it right, it will defend itself up to the point where it can't. Then
Mm.
that's even, I mean, that's even a bigger issue
Yep. Yeah.
to
Yeah.
deal with, right?
So, I mean, that's a really interesting comment on diuretics. And I guess we're not just talking about things that you could take that you buy at a pharmacy. There are other things that are diuretics.
Yes,
Coffee, I guess.
yes, and this is the reason why uh, we're so lucky we live in Australia, where diet products and diet supplements are being regulated very, very strictly, and there's a lot of heavy regulations around it, because sometimes, because we humans, we are inherently impatient.
Mhm.
So to make it seem that the product, especially diet product, uh, works immediately,
Yep.
usually they will have either a laxative agent or diuretic agent to make it seem that, wow, you lose 4 kilograms
Or something is happening.
or 9 pounds if you're from the US uh, within 2 days. And before you know it, uh, you probably feel a little bit dizzy. And this is why people have a lot of issues, health issues, when it comes to uh, trying to lose weight not the correct way.
Yeah.
And I actually have an experience last week. I came across an article, an opinion piece by someone. I can't remember the person. I have a feeling that he's
Mm.
probably quite important. But I was so taken by the piece that he wrote when it comes to Ozempic, and I'm quoting him, fat people. So as someone who also battles with weight issues, and also I think was or still is on Ozempic. He took an issue with people judging him by being on Ozempic or by losing weight by what he called a cheating way. It was in
Yeah.
Guardian Australia, I think.
Yeah.
Basically, he was defending people's decision of being on a sampling and everything, and I get that. It's fine. I do believe that we live in a free country that you can decide what you want to do with your body, including be on a sampling
Yep.
for whatever reason, aesthetic, health, whatever reason. And I feel that he does strike me as someone who is very well informed. So I would assume that he knows all of the side effects. But the issue that I took with what he wrote was that it is not really about. So he said that by using the word cheating, it's as if we're competing against someone. And I was like, no, no. Cheating is not just applying to competition. Cheating also applies to bypassing a normal or standard or regular protocol. In this case, losing
Okay.
weight.
Yeah.
My issue is none of that. People can lose weight, and God knows, as someone who came from a place of being fat, I was on my first diet when I was 13. So the issue that I take with what he wrote is that Ozempic gives you the result, but it doesn't change the behavior and it doesn't solve the
Okay.
core issue of why people are overweight or obese. Because when you take Ozempic away, and research has shown this, I think it's 44 or 46% of people would gain the weight back plus more.
Yeah.
So it's not solving the issue. And I do think that equating it with smoking, that's what he said. He said that why we are not judging the same people who quit smoking by taking medication the same way. And I think he opened a, a can of worms when he used that parable or equation, because smoking issue is nicotine addiction. So I'm just wondering if he was equating that in the way that overweight and obesity is a food addiction, which
Yeah.
I don't think he thought that through.
Yeah. I mean, food is it's a challenging thing. And even coming back to our protein focus, even the different types of proteins that we've spoken about. I know that when I was looking through some research around what kinds of proteins were aligned with different diets that were successful or unsuccessful, and diets are, as you've just said, it's more than about the food. It's about the environment. It's about the activities that you take as well. But when I was looking through some of those diets, uh, diets that focus you on rice and beans and having to eat them together. Uh, is there any value of mixing your proteins?
So the diet of rice and beans, it's so boring in a way that perhaps in the first 3 days you will eat a lot of rice and beans.
Yeah, and maybe a bit smelly after a few days as well. Right?
Well, that's also a misconception. Just because you eat a lot of beans doesn't mean that you will have a higher frequency of flatulence. No. But coming back to the diet perspective of this combination, I do think that there's a lot of, so all of these crash diets or novelty diets, they rely on two things. One, repetition, in the way that you will get bored and obviously you will eat
More
less.
number of ingredients.
And when you eat less of your calorie intake is also being reduced. Number two, it relies on adherence. So you need to adhere to it like religiously.
Yeah.
Because if you don't and it doesn't work, they will always say that, well, did you do it properly? Did you miss a step? Did you only wash your beans like 3 times instead of 3.5 times under the moonlight or something? So that is the problem with this kind of diets.
Yeah.
And the other group of crash diet characteristic is that usually it involves things that make you either go to the toilet for number two or urinating, because again, it sounds so good when you say that, wow, lose 2 sizes in 1 week, but those are all water weight.
Mm.
The same thing with
You're going to make them back. Yeah.
you will have to, because one of my lecturers actually at the University of Newcastle, she said something that was so profoundly wise when it comes to diet. If you can't sustain it, if it's not sustainable, that is that is not a diet. That is that is something that you can do for a short term. If it's not beneficial for you long term in terms of health, that is not something that you should be doing. And she also said that if being or achieving your dream body requires you to do things that you cannot sustain for the rest of your life, that is not a dream body.
Yeah.
You're living a nightmare.
Yeah. Look, I think I've always been challenged by that word diet.
Yes.
And it referring to a period of time, because that's not how I understand the meaning of the word itself.
You are absolutely right, but I'm sure you have a note on the origin of word of diet. There you go.
Maybe for the newsletter. What I did want to do is I wanted to come back and just round out that the different types of protein, and I think we've landed in the same place. I think that we've agreed that whether the type of protein that you're having, regardless of what it happens to be, you should have a mix of proteins.
Yes.
I don't think there's any just have vegetable, just have meat, just even have one type of meat. In fact, when I went to look at the Australian dietary guidance, it includes lean meat, fish, eggs, tofu, nuts, seeds, legumes, beans, all as protein food choices.
That is correct. That is correct. I'm so happy though that that guideline is changing very, very soon. It's due because we have had that for over a decade, and there has been a lot of new studies that come out in terms of explaining not only our relationship with food, but all physically, but also our relationship with food psychologically and mentally. And I do think that um, our guideline, our national guideline by the Pig Body in Australia needs to reflect that, especially when it comes to ultra processed foods. Just because food is high in protein doesn't mean that it does the thing that we think the protein will do, say, for example, from meat, from tofu, from egg, from milk. Because when you take a protein away from its normal, regular, standard food metrics, you are taking your body's ability away from being able to recognizing this substance.
Of course.
And that is the reason why, couple that with artificial sweeteners, sugar, alcohol, which are very, very often found in food that's high in protein, because they know that they're marketing to people who want to be lean, who wants to watch their figure, who wants to be on the lighter side of life, so to speak. And if they can cut the calorie from not adding sugar, they would. And the combination between the protein concentrate or isolate with these artificial sweeteners really, really confuses your body when it comes to your insulin response, when it comes to your uh, brain and gut axis in signaling whether or not you're full.
Okay.
A lot of people, after they take their protein shakes, protein bars, protein chips, whatever it is, they would still feel hungry because the message is not being delivered to their brain that they are already full, because their brain is not able to recognize all of these things as something that the body need in terms of ticking off, okay, I'm full. Okay, I'm satisfied. Okay, we get enough of nutrients that we require, that the body requires to stay healthy.
Thank you so much for outlining that. I came across a really interesting study talking about people who were eating protein bars to get their protein and a little bit of fiber versus people who are eating a balanced meal.
Yes.
And the actual meal was a salmon fillet, Greek yogurt, lentils, which has about the same amount of protein as the protein bar. But of course, dramatically different in fiber, saturated fat, sodium, salt, micronutrients, processing, even price.
Yes.
As well. So it is just because it says on the 7 grams of protein on the packet doesn't mean that your body's going to actually take on that protein.
That is correct. And legally, they're allowed to do so. Legally, they're right. They probably contain the amount of protein that they claim that it contains. But as someone whose PhD is in molecular biochemistry, I know that unless your body is able to absorb something,
Yep.
be it antioxidants, be it vitamins, minerals, or macronutrients like protein, your body is not able to use it. It's almost like going to, I don't know, I wouldn't even say a bank now because you don't actually see the money there. But if you go to, I don't know, the Tower of London, for example, and see the crown jewel, just because you're in the presence of the jewel doesn't mean that it's yours.
They're not yours.
They're
Totally.
not yours. Just because I don't know if you can touch it or not. I probably
You can't.
probably
No.
can't. But just because you can see it doesn't mean that it's yours. Doesn't mean that you can use it. The same way that the same principle applies when it comes to nutrients in our body.
Yeah.
Unless your body is able to utilize it. Sorry, unless your body is able to absorb, metabolize, and take it into the system, it's not able to utilize it.
I've got some diets from our past. Do you know I love these?
I know. Please tell me about the folk diet. Is it one of yours?
So the Atkins diet.
Yes.
Some people might remember that. That was in the 1970s. The paleo diet came after that. That was in the 2000s.
Oh, I thought it was in like 430 BC.
Yeah, or potentially. The keto diet, the carnivore diet, the protein first eating. They're all of these things.
This is the craziest. This is the crazy thing, right? Like, so Professor Atkins is a real person. He
not a Colonel Sanders.
No. Or General Kellogg's. He actually had done a lot of great research and studies when it comes to high protein diet. And you have to understand, back in the day during the Depression era, majority of the food items that people consume that made up their diet, everyday diet, was mainly carbohydrates.
Yeah.
Because they're cheap.
Mm-hmm.
So I do understand the appeal of high protein diet, because when you compare people that had high protein diet compared to people with the regular food and diet at that time, yes, people with higher amount of protein intake were healthier, were able to do more intense and more complicated physical activities, which is how they measure it, right?
Yeah.
However, just because it works at that period of time doesn't mean that it is the right way to go. There was also a time where doctors and surgeons recommended people to smoke. There was also a time where the paleo diet, where our ancestors were only eating certain food that are considered paleo.
Yep.
But they were only living till 40 or 30 even.
Yeah.
So I guess when it comes to diet, it is something that I truly, truly believe this. It is not one size fits all, because people with Asian background would differ slightly in their ability to process certain things. The same way that people with, say, for example, European background would have a bit of an issue with certain products. For example, Inuit people, or sorry, I don't know what is the political correct term now. I think it's indigenous Arctic people. Their diet is, I think it's 90% meat. But they need that because there's what we say microevolution that happens in their community to be adaptable and to survive the condition of where they're.
It's a harsh environment.
It is a harsh environment.
They're not happily living in air conditioning in 25 degrees
Well,
Celsius.
I've met two people who are from that tribe, that community, and they were really happy.
Yeah.
But
Some of
I
the
get what you're
happiest
saying.
people in the world, actually.
Yes, yes, and apparently igloo is actually really warm. Ice is a really great insulator.
So, Dr. Vincent, we've got maybe 10 minutes or so. What if we come forward to the protein fads? I have to tell you, the internet is like awash with protein fads. It's something, as you said earlier. It's we're maybe a little bit behind the US for
Yeah.
some of these fads, but there are certainly a lot of them. The protein maxing and the powders to get big. I think we've maybe covered some of that. Uh, but what about the carnivore diet? So that's one that I've had a few friends try that as well.
I do think that people are more than welcome to try it if they know that it will not negatively and significantly affect their baseline. When I
Hmm.
say that, what I meant was that there are certain people who should not even try that, because if someone has a predisposition towards high cholesterol level, for example, or high
Yeah,
blood pressure, or some kidney issues, these are not the things that
there are other impacts from having that much
you should
protein.
be adventurous about. I do believe that the carnivore diet, for example, Gwyneth Paltrow is probably the prime example when it comes to abandoning the paleo or carnivore diet. I can't remember which one it was, because she was then diagnosed with osteopenia, which is uh, the breaking down of the bone. It's not osteoporosis, but it is on the way
Yeah,
there.
yeah, it's the onset. Yeah.
Yes. So I do think that, um, again, biologically and evolutionarily, human being, we are not supposed to only source our nutrients from a narrow types of food, from a narrow range of food,
Yeah.
because we have come so far in the evolutionary pathway to make sure that we can live healthily, long, and happily. And a large part of that comes from what we put into our body. And our body biologically is a very smart machine. For example, our body cannot synthesize vitamin C.
Yeah.
And the reason being is because throughout our evolution, vitamin C is very, very plentiful in our diet.
Hmm.
And that's the reason why our body, in the name of efficiency, it shuts down the part of the gene that allows us to be able to synthesize our own vitamin C. It's very common uh, 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 knowledge that the reason why vitamin C was discovered is because of the scurvy in
Yeah.
the sailor, right?
Yeah.
And uh, but but if you think through the evolution process, it doesn't. It is not out of realm of possibility that our body back in the day biologically did not account for us being in the middle of the ocean, because we are not
Mm.
supposed to be
Mm.
evolutionarily in the ocean. It's
Yeah.
just that
Yeah.
with
Or
technology and
even,
everything.
yeah. I mean, I think one of the problems with the scurvy side of things was that fresh fruit and vegetables, which are
Ye-
impossible to get
Impossible to get
if you've been on a boat for 6 weeks.
at that time.
Yeah.
Nowadays, if you go through, I don't know, a fishing of the seas,
Do a cruise.
do a cruise. I cannot wait because I can't. I, so what? Left field question. What is the longest holiday period that you have ever taken in your life?
So I've done a couple of 6-week holidays,
Yeah, I do
which
not
I
know how it feels.
very, very strongly recommend. For our American friends who only get 2 weeks typically, it's something that Australians find very difficult to believe, because in Australia we get 4 weeks, which is pretty normal. Uh,
Not for entrepreneur.
well,
I do not
maybe not
have
for you. You don't get 4 weeks leave, but you've got your own business.
that.
If
That's
you're
true.
being employed in Australia, then you typically get 4 weeks of holidays.
Wow.
The other thing that's really interesting about Australia is that it's one of the few economies that allows you to keep banking your leave as well.
Yes.
So in
I didn't.
Japan,
I
just
didn't
as
know that this is not a
no, it's
common
not.
thing.
In Japan, it's very, very common that once you get to 20 days, you no longer accrue anymore.
So you have to. So it's almost like a forced leave.
Well,
Like you have to use it.
you don't have to use it, but you never get any more.
Okay.
And it's to offset the risk of the business. In Singapore, a very similar kind of thing happens, but there are some Singaporean companies. Although I think that this is decreasing, there are some Singaporean companies who say if you don't use that 20 days in 2 years, you lose all of it,
Wow. Wow.
which is pretty harsh.
And wow.
People should be taking their holidays. It's good for us.
It is good for not only for you, it's also good for the people that you work with or work for, because there is, I mean, if I can say this, people
Mm.
should believe it. There's a lot more to life than working, and one of the things that I've ever heard that uh, was really profoundly moving and touching for me is that your work is what you do. It's not who
Mm.
you are. And I take it to heart. And I don't get me wrong, I'm so passionate in what I'm doing. I believe in what I'm doing, and I always give 100%. Don't give. I used to say 110%, which is, and it's a lot. You cannot, like, mathematically, it's impossible. So I always give 100% every day. I go to bed really, really happy. I fall asleep like a baby. I sleep through the night because I know that I have done my very best every day. And if I can't achieve what I want to achieve on today, there's always tomorrow.
There's always
Hopefully.
tomorrow. Vincent, let's wrap this one up. We're at just over 50 minutes. I feel like we've got through a lot about protein today. We've spoken about meat proteins and vegetable proteins. I've learned that it's not just one or the other.
Yes.
We've spoken a little bit about supplements as
Yes.
well, and protein supplements and where they come from,
Yep.
or the majority of them come from. And you've spoken about the amount of protein that you as an individual is focused on. I do know that if you go to your favorite search engine and if you put in your weight and your age and where
Anyway,
you live,
yes.
then you're going to get a recommendation.
Yes.
There is an Australian recommendation. I noticed that there is a recommendation for New Zealanders. I don't know why it's different. But you should see it as a range as an advice. Don't follow any of this.
It's a guidelines.
It's a guideline, exactly.
Yeah. And I'm sure you will very much enjoy this week's newsletter because I won't spoil it, but I can already tell, like, just by looking at him, I can already tell the treats that you will get on this week's newsletter.
I'm thinking of banana muffin just to keep breakfast going.
Yeah, well, there you go. We are freshly out of time. We do not have time for breakfast, literally. If you want to fight us, go online, send us a DM, send us an email, hello@askdrvincent.com. Let's keep this breakfast things going. Anyway, thank you so much. See you. Bye-bye.
Thank you, everyone. Bye.